مبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا. Inshallah ta'ala, today we'll commence with our final lesson on this 4-week series. We should have, inshallah ta'ala, any sessions covered that which is most important, that which is most relevant to day-to-day dealings. There is other stuff that we won't be able to go through. It would have been nice to have an overview of some of these material, but that which we're going to go through, inshallah ta'ala, is extremely relevant and important, imperative that we have some sort of understanding. The poet then goes on to say, we stopped last week at al-buyu' al-muharramatu al-batila. Transactions that are haram and invalid. Transactions that are haram and invalid. He then says, وَلَا يَصِحُّ الْبَيْعُ مِنْ مُتَلْزَمُ جُمْعَتُهُ بَعْدَ النِّدَى وَيَحْرُمُ. He says, the transaction, the item that you buy or the item that you sell, this transaction that takes place after the adhan of al-Jum'ah has gone off. How many adhans do we have normally for Jum'ah? Less than, which is different to Makkah and Medina. How many adhans do you guys normally have here?
One adhan.
One adhan? Right. Once the adhan has gone off, and you transact, what's the ruling of that transaction? This is what he's referring to here. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. He said, مِمَّنْ تَلْزَمُ جُمْعَتُهُ. The one who has to attend the Jum'ah. So this narrows it down to who we are referring to. Does everyone have to go for Jum'ah? Someone hasn't reached the age of puberty, is the Jum'ah wajib upon him? What about a woman? Does she have to attend? So she's not from the people that have to go to Jum'ah. Likewise, a sabi, right? Someone who hasn't reached the age of puberty. Who else doesn't have to go to Jum'ah? Does anyone know?
Sick and elderly. Sick.
Somebody who's sick, right? It is no longer obligatory upon that individual. Who else? Someone who's musafir, someone who's traveling. Like once the adhan has gone off, and this individual decides to transact, is that transaction valid? No. Why? What's the evidence for it? أحسنت. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذكر الله عز وجل. وذروا البيع. What does وذروا البيع mean? Leave off transacting. Leave off the buying and selling. What do you guys think? Imagine the adhan goes off and then you're running to the shop. You want to get a drink, or you want some food. Yes, there? Come on, brothers, let's not be like idols here, huh? The asl is when it comes to buying and selling after the adhan has gone off, we're talking about the second adhan. Earlier I asked you the question. First and second adhan. Right? In many places you will have what? 2 adhans. The adhan goes off, that isn't really the adhan that starts the Jum'ah. Right? After that, another adhan goes off. Once the second adhan, like the adhan that we normally have here in Leicester, once that goes off, and you transact, that transaction is valid. However, what they exempt is, إِلَّا لِحَاجَةٍ. If there's like a need for it. Right? If there is a need for it, and someone now transacted, in that case, it should be valid, and there shouldn't be an issue with it. Right? So here this term, when Allah says, whether al-bay' leave off, right? Transacting, important issue in the sort of fiqh that comes in handy here. When there is a prohibition, right? If there is a prohibition, does that make that something now prohibited? Long discussion, we're not going to go into it, but this is where this ruling has now originated from. No. Likewise, if somebody now needed to buy something in order to cover his awrah, sometimes that happens. Right? For whatever reason, he doesn't have the clothes now to cover his awrah. Some of you guys are probably looking at me strange. Right? In the past, at times, they didn't have the clothing. Or their clothing was ripped as they are on their way to the masjid. And the awrah now becomes what? Makshufa. It becomes revealed. So if you need enough to buy something after the adhan went off, this would fall under what? Al-haja. Right? If there is a need for that. Right? Someone's extremely thirsty. He's going to struggle to concentrate in the Jum'ah. And he needs to buy water, the adhan's gone off. Is there a need for it?
Yeah.
Is there a need for him to buy the water? Like, is there a need for him now to buy a couple of burgers, right, in order to fill his stomach all the way till the maximum? Is there a need for that? Right? No. You take that which is going to cover the need. الضرورات تبيح المحظورات, you see, right? الضرورة, the necessity to make that which is haram, unlawful, permissible. And there's another legal maxim that would take the exact same effect, which is الحاجات تنزل منزلة الضرورة. The same way you apply the darurat. Cases of necessity, right? It would make that which is unlawful halal in that instance, right? Only in that instance. We're not making that which is haram halal here. At times, you're allowed to do something that is haram, right? When, in cases of necessity, somebody's going to die, right? Or someone's body parts are going to get chopped off, right? When something as huge as that is on the line. However, there's another legal maxim, which is what? Al-haja, which comes under what? Necessity. Necessity is that which relates to somebody's life, or a body part is going to fall off. Like, for example, somebody now needs one of his body parts needs to be amputated, and he needs what? He needs the finances to be able to carry it out, otherwise he's going to die. In that case, he's allowed to take a riba-based loan in order to save some of his body parts. Many of the scholars, based on this principle, they say yes. Even though there's discussion with regards to the issue of riba. But there's many they say yes. Does that make riba halal? No, it doesn't. Does that make eating haram now halal? In a case of necessity, it doesn't. It just permits it for you in that instance. This is what some people don't seem to understand when we look at this flexible framework. We are not making what is haram halal, halal haram now. However, because of all of these legal maxims, at times we find that, right, certain muharramat may be permitted in these scenarios and circumstances. Does that make sense? Even though the Sharia is fixed, it is unmovable, right? The principles and the objectives of Sharia are fixed. Is that clear? So here we're coming to this qaida again. It's a little bit different to the necessity principle or the necessity legal maxim. There is one that says haja. What does haja mean? When there is what? A need. And not just any type of need, right? You can maybe say exceptional type of need, which is different to necessity. Does that make sense? An exceptional need. You may want to write it down. You have what? Darura, which is what? A necessity. A necessity can only come into effect, or this kind of principle of necessity, making that which is unlawful allowed in this instance, it can only come into effect when your life is at risk, or one of your body parts are going to fall off. Right? Or that's at risk. But then the other principle which talks about need and hajat, right? تنزل منزلة الضرورة. Exceptional circumstance, you would, right, deal with it in a similar fashion. Does that make sense? No. So this is why they said إلا في حاجة أو بلا حاجة يصح عند الحاجة إذا وجدت حاجة كالضرورة. طيب. Then he says وبيع ما يعصر للخمار قبل الصلاح البيع للثمار. طيب, pay attention now, brothers and sisters. This is very, very important. One of the many questions that we received, it revolves around this. One of the many questions that we received, it revolves around this. It is that which is also unlawful is selling ما يعطر للخمار. Somebody now, a khammar is somebody who makes alcohol. Selling grapes to him that he's now going to squeeze into khamar. Is that allowed? Let me ask you guys a question. Selling grapes in within itself, is it permissible or is it haram? What's the base ruling of it? Al-aslu fi dhalik. Selling grapes. Selling water. Anyone object to whether this is halal or haram? Does anyone object to me telling this now being haram? Does anyone want to contest that? No doubt about it, right? Al-aslu, the asl, the base ruling when it comes to selling an item is that it is permissible until proven otherwise. I can sell whatever I find on the face of this earth, right? As long as I don't have an evidence stating that it's haram for me to do so. Agreed? That's what we told. So there's more halal than haram. Here it says, وَبَيْعُ مَا يُحْصَرُ لِلْخَنَّاءِ. If I know, right, this individual that manufactures alcohol, and he needs these grapes to be able to do so, and I know that he's going to, right, he's going to use these grapes, which is permissible within itself, to consume and also to buy and sell. That's the base ruling with, right? No one does that. But I know he's going to use them now for haram. Is it permissible now for me to sell it to him? Al-jawabu la. Even the narration can speak, مَنْ حَبِسَ الْعِنَبَ أَيَّامَ الْقِطَافِ, right? حَتَّى يُتَّخَذَ مِنْهَا خَمَرًا. Huh? Whoever knows what they used to do back in the day, I'm teaching you guys how to create khamar. But what they would do once upon a time is, they would get the grapes, they would let it dry, right? They would leave it at times under the sun. Are you with me? And then it would be in a better state for it to be used or manufactured into khamar. Right? So whoever does that, the narration states, in order to use it to make khamar or to sell it to someone that's going to use it to make khamar, right? Then he's under the threat of the alcohol. Even though the narration is da'if, but the concept is sahih and agreed upon. You cannot sell something to someone if he's going to use that for haram. The asal goes back to the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Do not cooperate in sin and evil. Let me ask you a question. A war breaks out, right? The Muslims are at war with the enemy, right? I am somebody who manufactures weapons. They are offering me, right? They are offering me unimaginable money, an offer that I can't turn down. Am I allowed to sell them these guns, these weapons that I manufacture? This is the example that the fuqaha normally use in their books, right? بيع السلاح في وقت الحرب. Selling weaponry or that which is going to be used at the time of war. Or it could be just between Muslims, right? To take innocent life, and you are now what? Selling these weapons, even though generally speaking, within itself is there, right? A prohibition that prevents you from selling these items. No, you can trade, you can buy and sell. But at a time of the harb, right? Which is most likely going to be used in a way that is displeasing to Allah or in contrary to the Sharia. You're not allowed to do so. Let me give you guys, inshallah, these three scenarios, and inshallah, everything will fall into perspective because I know some of you guys are probably going to have questions. I'll give you guys an example of a shop that somebody owns, a baqala, a grocery store. I sell in this grocery store a lighter. A lighter. You guys know what a lighter is, right? A lighter. The first one that walks in is a jilbabi auntie, and she asked me to sell her a lighter. What's the ruling here? Huh? Halal? Why is it halal? What if the jilbabi goes out and starts using his lighter to smoke? Spraying a jilbab. She might even be wearing a niqab. And then she lights up a split after she did the shop. That's a possibility, right? Am I allowed to sell this lighter to the jilbabi lady even wears a niqab and she's got 4 or 5 kids? Because there's a possibility that she's going to light a split as soon as she leaves. Is it possible for her to do that? Possible, right? He said yes. What do you guys think? There's a possibility, right? هل يمكن حقنا؟ Is it possible? Is it possible? يعني can this actually happen? She just could be hiding her identity, right? She doesn't want to Taymiyyah to catch her up. And tell the community. Like, what we do here, my brothers and my sisters, we go off with that which is most likely. Is it, let's be honest with ourselves, a jilbab that's walking in, she's got her kids, she just come out of, she's dropped her kids off madrasa, or she's with her kids after picking them up from madrasa, and then she's bought a whole load of grocery needs and whatever have you, right? And then she's asked, look, I need a lighter as well. What's the likelihood that she's going to use it for haram? Very highly unlikely, right? Like, in this case, it will be permissible. We go off with that which is most likely. Our brother walks in, and then he is thinking of cigarettes, asks me for a lighter. يجوز بيعه? Is it permissible in this kind of scenario now to? No, why? Because there are indications. You may want to underline this. There are indications that show that there is a high possibility that he's going to use this for ماذا؟ haram. Wallah, you guys, right? Solidify these scenarios, these three scenarios. A lot of furu', a lot of examples, a lot of questions that people have, it will fall into perspective. Are you brothers with me? Am I allowed to insult this individual? Why? Because there are clear-cut indications that he's most likely going to use the haram. Like, another example I tend to use is barbers who walk into these grocery stores and they buy these razors. He's going to be doing these haram haircuts. The third scenario, a brother walks in, there is no indication whatsoever. Right? Is he going to use this light of haram? Is he not? I'm not sure. What do you do in this kind of scenario? Which is? There's no indication that shows that he's going to either use it for haram or halal. There's nothing that indicates that. So the asl is that you can sell it to him. Likewise, when it comes to MP3s that they had once upon a time, or AirPods, to be a lot more relevant. Right? This guy's walking in and he's like that. And he's listening to music on his phone. You have to tell him, I can switch it off. He's walking into the shop. And he says to you, oh, can I buy your AirPods? What's the likelihood now that he's going to use it haram?
Very high.
Very highly likely, right? And then you got, right? Allah gives me, mashallah, is memorizing the Quran, right? Always in the message trying to memorize, and then comes to you and says, I want to buy AirPods. What's the likelihood that he's going to use it for haram? These three scenarios, we can repeat it very, very, very quickly. What was the first scenario?
Shop.
No, the three cases that I gave you guys.
The lighter.
Number one, if there is no indication whatsoever that this is going to be used for haram, right? Like the jilbabi lady. That's a good way to remember. Very highly unlikely that she's going to use that for haram. Second scenario is someone now that gives you these clear indications that he's going to use it for haram. Number three, there is no indication whatsoever. You can maybe say it's 50-50 type of case. He could and he could not. The asl is they can say it. Are you promises with me? I'll give you guys a scenario. Once upon a time, I found myself. Dazid might be able to relate to this as well. I started working for this company called Talk. This is years ago. Right? As soon as I finished, because they were training us to sell 3 products. Number 1, telephone packages. Number 2, TV packages. And number 3, internet packages. As soon as the training finished, the pennies dropped. I'm like, am I even allowed to be selling these TV packages? They had Netflix. On the phone, you would have to offer it to them. Right? These are very common scenarios. You have to offer to them, right? Or you have to ask them what they're going to use the internet for. And sometimes the guy clearly and explicitly says, yes, I'm going to be streaming movies, and sometimes even worse than that, I'm going to be streaming. A'udhu billah. Huh? Read between the lines. Like he clearly, bila hashot, yeah. No shyness whatsoever. I'm going to be watching this. That's what I'm going to be streaming. He says I'm a subscriber and I need to be streaming these live A'udhu billah sessions. Right? That's the time when you switch the phone off on him. If I go ahead now and say, is it permissible? And I know what he's going to be using the internet for. Right? I had to call the manager. The manager was Muslim, lovely brother. I said to him, look, this does not fall in line with my Islamic values and morals. I am not allowed to be selling these TV packages, because when you go into these TV packages, the majority of them are like haram channels and movies and whatever have you. Or you could say what over 90% is that which is impermissible. Don't tell me, oh, there's a channel on there, the Discovery Channel, where you're going to be watching animals. That's 1 out of 100 channels. وَالْحُكْمُ لِلْغَالِبِ. You give a ruling based on the majority situation. Not 1 or 2 fringe scenarios or channels that's going to be on there. So he said to me, Muhammad, don't worry about it. It was my friend, right? He said, don't sell the TV package, don't even offer it to him. I was like, okay, nice. But just to let you know, you're going to miss out on the bonus. I said to him, no problem. Wallah, I said to him, no problem. Would you guys believe it, right? For the next 3 months, right? I won all of the incentives. I wasn't even trying. And I believe Allah gave me all these. Whatever I would have won in the bonus, I won it through the incentives. The next 3 months, I think one time it was like £80, the other time it was like 100, the other time it was like 70 or something along the lines of that. Right? And I put that down to whoever leaves something for the sake of Allah, Allah Azza wa Jalla will give him that shukr. Are you guys with me? Like, then comes the issue of, without even me saying to this individual what he's going to be using the internet for, he goes, yeah man, make sure you give me good internet. I'm going to be streaming. Right? Shaitan. Right? Are you guys with me? I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'll say this anyway. I don't work for any of these companies anymore. As soon as he says that, we'll switch it off. Act like a phone call. Right? I'll lose out on a sale, but the sale is coming very, very quickly after that. Alhamdulillah, it picks up on it. What do you think, Allah? Allah, every time they said that, or he asked for it, you're speaking very, very quickly. That's a big debate, right? Shahid can I make use? Islamically, I'm not allowed to sell to him if I know he's going to use it haram. Like, this scenario is very, very relevant for some of our sisters, and I normally tend to mention it. When it comes to the hairdressers, or you're a private hairdresser, right? A sister walks in and she's wearing a niqab, she says, please, can you do my hair? What's the likelihood now that she's going to be committing a sin with you doing a hair up? She's walked in with a niqab, hijab, and everything. Very highly unlikely. Am I allowed to do a hair? لا بأس ماشي, no problem. طيب, a sister walks in and she's not wearing a hijab and she's saying, please, can you do my hair? Right? You're now assisting her in beautifying herself, right? In a way that she's going to be disobeying Allah Azza wa Jalla. Is it so? Likewise, when it comes to makeup artists, sometimes a sister comes to you, she's going to a wedding, and she wants you to do her up. Fine. And sometimes they want you to do the makeup, and she's going to go outside mutabarrijatan, displaying herself in a manner that's disobeying Allah, that's displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, that would be impermissible. Right? Now when it comes to the issue of henna, it's a bit of a controversial one. Let me ask you guys a question. When a woman goes outside, how should she be going outside in light of the Sharia? Is that Ismail, by the way? Is your name Ismail? Oh. Oh. How should she be going out?
Everything talking.
Huh?
Everything talking. Apart from the hands.
No, like, okay, but should she be beautifying herself?
No.
Huh? Just let your wife go out, however she, don't worry, my wife, whatever you, I'm there to support you. Huh? Simp 101. Do as you wish, don't worry, whatever. You want to take, I'm ready to. This is not manly. Right? I understand if you guys started practicing together, you started your journey after getting married, right? The situation is a little bit different than you deal with it, right? But some of your brothers are looking to get married, and then you see a sister, she goes, Inshallah, I want to one day make dua for me, and you're like, don't worry, can do, I'll be there. From the get-go, you're really showing your feminine side, my brother. It's not a manly attribute or a manly characteristic. Long story cut short, a woman when she goes outside, my brothers and my sisters, right? You can say there are two conditions, and I think it's very, very important. Two conditions. Number one, she should not be, right? She should not be dressing in a way that is outside of the clothing within the Sharia paradigm. So there are conditions of how a woman should dress and so on. Right? If you want to quickly find the condition, type into Google conditions of the jilbab. Shaykh al-Albani's conditions comes up. Very, very good, very, very in line with the Sharia. That's one. Number two, she should not be drawing attention to herself. That's a key word. A woman should not be drawing attention to herself. The other day, in a Hot Topics podcast, they asked me this question. Like, can a woman be given da'wah publicly? Right? And I know this is going to bring out some controversy. A woman coming out into the public and then she's addressing men, right? And she looks like she just come out of a makeup booth. Second condition is what? She should not be drawing attention to herself. He promises with me. People normally say I'm very, very soft with women. Nah, I tell brothers to be very, very patient with them. Right? You guys just started practicing together. Right? You're at different stages of your journey. Take it easy. Everyone's welcome to the programs. However, as a man, right, you should be aiding and assisting her in bettering herself. Not, as some of these guys on live behave. That's what I was talking about. Right? His wife won't think of the hijab on that. That's disgusting behavior. But when the sister now is trying her utmost, but she comes from an environment where she wasn't wearing hijab, we're very, very easy with her. In terms of encouraging her, advising her, being patient with her. We give her the right information. As opposed to that simp, we give her the right information. While at the same time, we push her towards the right direction in a soft and gentle way. Do you guys get the difference? But you guys don't understand what I'm talking about. You've seen some of these guys online, right? Huh? It's very, very common. Very, very common. Just don't turn into one of those. So a woman should not be drawing attention to us. ماذا قال الله عز وجل ولا يضربن بأرجلهن ليعلم ما يخفين من زينتهن. This is a very, very key part of this concept here, or this condition. Allah told them, do not clatter your feet on the ground. Right? So, that which is under you is discovered. It grabs the attention of those that are walking around you. Let's be honest with ourselves. A woman's walking past now and she's wearing the heels. Is that not going to grab your attention? This is exactly what the verse is talking about. But we are not, right, rigid in our understanding. The illah here is we look at the reasoning why it's being prohibited. Right? We look at the reason as to why this is being prohibited, because it is going to attract the attention of others. This is what is being prohibited here. Right? It's going to draw the attention of men. And that's the reason why it's being prohibited here. So anytime we find that in whatever scenario it might be, that's why ilal is very, very important. Tahqiq al-manat. Whenever I find that elsewhere, right, you can't just say that no, Allah Azza wa Jalla said, don't clatter your feet. Don't draw attention through your feet. Everything other than that is fine. She's wearing the red lipstick, so she goes, but I'm walking properly, I'm not clattering my feet on the floor. Even though she's what? Wearing red lipstick, borbora all over her face, right? She's painted it, and she's saying, no, I'm not doing anything wrong because I'm not clattering my feet. No, we're not rigid in our understanding like that. We look at the effective causes, the reasoning as to why something is being prohibited. واضح؟ Did everyone get those three scenarios? No. Let me ask you a question. Selling, right, cups for someone who I know is going to use them haram. You choose? Of course not. Because a cup you can use it either for drinking milk or for doing something that's haram. So if I know, if the local pub owner comes along and asks to buy, like I know sometimes, subhanAllah, Muslim shop owners would intentionally do this. They will open a shop, right, next to a pub or next to a place where sin is taking place, right? And he says, yeah, you know, when they come out of the pub, they're going to be, you know, buying. They're going to be buying certain products that will aid in the system in the haram. Are you brothers with me? No. طيب. And then it says قبل الصلاة البيع الاحتمالي. You're not allowed to sell, right? The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam forbade the sale of grain until it becomes ripe, right? Until it becomes hard. Only then it is allowed for you to sell it. إلا مع الأصل أو القطع شرط. Right? Unless you're selling the whole thing together for that individual. حالا كذا لمالك الأصل فقط. And then he says ويحرم الربا وبيع الغرر وأخذ مال دون حق القدر. And then he again speaks about that which is haram, the three main reasonings of why a transaction may become haram is what? Those who remember. All the three. Riba, gharar, ahsant, darar. Right? Unjustly taking the wealth of another. Or causing harm. Then he says بيع على بيع أخي والعينة وشرها بيع الغني أو غبي دينه أو دينه. وشرها بيع الغبي دينه. بيع على بيع أخي. Okay, to sell over your brother. What's that mean? Or to undercut your brother. Maybe a better way to put it. Likewise, when it comes to buy, the same ruling applies to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? Prohibited both scenarios, right? Undercutting the brother when it comes to a transaction. Can anyone give me a scenario of that?
Shopkeepers about to, or someone in the market is about to sell someone something, let's say £5. Someone else comes and says, I'll sell it for 10. That's in terms of buying the opposite. Yeah.
Like, there is two scenarios here. Me and you are negotiating, and then somebody comes along and says, look, I'll give you X, Y, and Z. Whatever you're looking for, I'll give it to you. Is that permissible or haram? Huh?
Yeah, we used to do it.
This is a key part of, right, when it becomes haram. If an agreement hasn't been reached, right? If an agreement hasn't been reached, if one comes along now and puts down an offer for the shopkeeper or for that seller, in that case, fine. But once an agreement has been reached, me and Abdullah are negotiating, and then I say to him, okay, khalas, let's do this. And he says, okay, let's go. Right? Mahmoud then comes into the shop and says, how much are you selling that for? I'm thinking to myself, okay, I might be able to get more out of the situation now. Even though the agreement has already taken place. He says, I'll buy it for more. In that case, how? Likewise, my brothers and my sisters, when it comes to the nikah, put nikah to the side, no? You know, when it comes to marriage negotiations, when it comes to marriage negotiations, okay, is a sister allowed to have more than one married sit down with a brother? Hmm?
I'm guessing, yeah.
Say the sister now is visited by a brother, and then he says, look, I'll do this for you, I'll do that. Okay, I'll think about it. And then another brother comes knocking, right? He says, I'll do this and I'll do that, and I want you. She's like the Bushra, the princess charming that everybody wants. And another one comes and says, look, you know what? This is my offer on the table. Yajuz? And then someone else finds out that, okay, already 3 have started negotiations with this sister. Yajuz? And then he goes as well.
The same concept. She can entertain proposals, but once she commits to somebody, no one else can jump in and say that.
Do you guys think what we said?
Correct.
Huh? What do you guys think? Now, once she commits and they move forward now with this marriage proposal, you cannot come along and start looking for ways to ruin this commitment between them. I promise this with you. What's the evidence for it? What's the hadith? Now I'm saying that the woman can have more than one married sit down. What's the woman's name? Fatima bint Qais. She's the messenger of Allah, right? In Abu Jahl wa Muawiyah khatabani. Both Abu Jahl and Muawiyah, they asked for my hand in marriage. The messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, don't go for both of them, go for Usama. What does that show? That she had more than one marriage sit down, and the messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't say to her, why are you having all these marriage sit downs? And the messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's the one that said, one should not undercut his brother when it comes to nikah or when it comes to marriage proposals, and likewise when it comes to buying and selling. He promises with me. A lot of people don't know this. Right? A lot of people don't know this.
What did the Prophet say? Can you repeat that?
She came to him, she said, oh Messenger of Allah, 2 individuals have asked my hand in marriage. Abu Jahl and also Muawiyah. Right? Exactly what Muhammad mentioned. Was there a commitment? Did she go ahead with the proposal with any of them? No. She's still pondering. Right? Asking the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam for advice. And then the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no, go for some. But once a commitment, right, has been established, then no. If you now try to undercut your brother, you try to seduce her and marry you, this is when you will fall into that which is haram. Having said that, my brothers and my sisters, one thing I would say is, take into consideration people's feelings. Don't just hold all of these sisters on standby. Fear Allah Azza wa Jal. Right? If you know that you are not going to go ahead with this, let the sister go. Right? Right? Let the sister go. Keep her out of her misery. Are you brothers with me? And likewise, my sisters, don't just keep the guy on standby. If you know that this guy is really not going to be a good potential, let him go. Right? By the way, if anyone gets tired, just stand up, inshallah ta'ala, stretch and sit back down. Yeah? As we go through this. So you have selling, and then you also have buying. Sometimes, brothers and sisters, right? You have two people that want to buy this product, and sometimes you have two people that are trying to sell a product. And then he comes and undercuts his brother in selling that item, and sometimes he's not buying that item. And the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he prohibited both of them. And then he said, وَالْعِينَ. Does anyone know what al-'ina is? Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in the hadith, إِذَا تَبَايَعْتُمْ بِالْعِينَ. It's a type of riba. It's a type of riba which we, inshallah ta'ala, will speak about in a short while. The Messenger of Allah said, إِذَا تَبَايَعْتُمْ بِالْعِينَ. Once you have عِينَ type transactions. وَأَخَذْتُمْ أَذْنَابَ الْبَقَرَ وَرَضِيتُمْ بِالزَّرْعِ. And you begin to chase after cows. And you become satisfied with the lands that you have. Meaning you become satisfied with the dunya. You just become someone who's dunya oriented. So you start dealing with what? Major things, the riba, and then start chasing after the dunya. And he said, وَتَرَقْتُمُ الْجِهَادِ. And you leave up the jihad. Right, just in case you have someone here that works in channel 4 and make it very, very clear. I'm not here recruiting for IHOP, no. We condemn them, we're totally against it. But at the same time, I'm not going to bite my tongue and be apologetic about jihad being part of my religion. There are rules and regulations, especially in the Quran. Does anyone deny that? Rather, the one who denies it, that there is this concept within the deen, is first actually disbelieved. And then the Messenger said, Allah will send out upon you humiliation. He will not remove this humiliation until you come back to your religion. 4 things were mentioned. And one of them is dealing with al-'ina. What does al-'ina mean? Does anyone know? Can anyone give me the scenario of al-'ina? Muhammad. Do you have any idea?
No.
Abdullah. Sorry? Buy back clothes? I'm going to give you guys a scenario. Right? Selling an item, right? Selling an item, right? Using it as a loophole to get back more on a loan. Selling an item, using that, or let me just rephrase that. Using an item that you sell as a loophole to get more back on the loan that you've given. I'll say it again. Right? An item that one sells, using it as a loophole to get back more for a loan that he has given. You guys with me? How much is the phone worth? 700. Good. Anyone here looking to get married? Don't be shy. Yes, we all are. Not me though.
Oh, no, that's that you said. Anyone can hear
He wasn't getting married. He's being shy. Okay, our brother here. Sorry, what's his name?
Yusuf.
Yusuf. Yusuf needs a £10,000 loan. He needs how much? A £10,000 loan. In Islam, we are encouraged to help each other out, to strengthen the bond of brotherhood. Your brother is in need, I give him what he needs, whether it may be money, financial help, whether it may be physical help, whether it may be some services that I'm able to provide for him. I try to help out the people around me. This is what Islam encourages. However, not everybody thinks like that, right? People use these kind of scenarios as opportunities. They're opportunists. In these kind of scenarios or circumstances, where they try to make more money, where they try to get as much as they can out of this individual. Are you brothers with me? So he comes to me, he wants a £10,000 loan. But he knows I'm not going to give it to him. Right? He knows I'm not going to give it to him. So what did he do? Look, he says, I'll sell you this loan. Right? And then maybe 1 year later, when the time is up to pay back the loan, I'll buy it off you for more. I'll buy it off you for more. Are you guys with me? So he said to him, I'll tell you this. Right? I'll tell you this phone. For how much? £10,000. Is this phone worth £10,000? That's what I asked you guys earlier. For £10,000, which I'm going to buy back later, but I'll give you what? 12,000. Does this phone really hold any significance in this deal? It's a loophole now to turn this qard, this loan that you required, into what seems like a sale. I'll repeat it again. Someone needs a loan. I come to him, right? He wants to make the loan lucrative, right? For this person who's lending him this money, he's going to wait a whole year. What am I benefiting? The guy who's giving his money, they always say to themselves, what am I benefiting in giving you such a huge amount? Are you brothers with me? So there is this item in this deal, or in this, right, engagement that they're having, if you want to call it that, or this transaction. In essence, it holds no significance whatsoever. He's using this as a loophole now, right, to be able to get this loan, which he will end up paying back later. But from the apparent, it looks like they're selling a product and then just buying it back from him. I don't think you guys get it.
What purposes?
Huh? If you are now looking for a £10,000 loan in St. Matthews, how many people do you think are going to give it to you? No one's going to give it to you, right? Which goes against Islamic ethics. Right? Right? You say to somebody, you've got a nice iPhone, right? What's the worst? هذه عرق قشر. Huh? £1,000. Huh? Like, you say to him, look, I'll tell you this. Huh? We're just playing around with words here, as you can see. This whole thing is just a loophole to play around with words in order to be able to get this loan. I'll sell you this. Right? He says to you, you go up to him, look, you know, this, that, I need some money, whatever. He goes, I'll sell you this iPhone. The guy who had the money says to you, I'll sell you this. Right? For how much? £10,000. I'll tell you this iPhone. Are you guys listening to this? It's an iPhone. Huh? For £10,000, which you have to pay back when? Next January. It's January now, next January you have to pay back. Right? But instead of saying paying back, he says, I'll buy back the phone from you later on. That's for 12,000. Guys get it now?
He's buying his phone.
Is he losing out?
He's going to end up making.
I'm thinking the same guy selling his phone for $200.
You get what I'm saying? They're trying to change this loan into what? A transaction. Yes. And what we take into consideration, my brothers and my sisters, when it comes to buying and selling, is what? Al-Asma and the wordings. What is it? The maqasid. You can name it and you can call it whatever you want, but we look at the essence, the reality of that transaction. You can name it, or you can, if somebody comes up to me and says, look, I have this mortgage scheme. It could be they call the mortgage, but when I look at the contract, it's perfectly fine. It is khali, it is void of any haram elements. Right? And then today you have some Islamic banks, Islamic banks that will refer to some of their transactions or their schemes as halal-based schemes, but in reality it's a case of tomato. What's the difference between the two? tomato, tomato. What's the difference? One is an English accent, the other one what? Is an American accent. But it's exactly the same. فهمتم? Exactly. Yeah. So what we're basically doing is we're selling an item, using it as a loophole, right? To get more back on a loan. Okay? Someone owns the phone. I say to Abdullah, I'll say this for the last time, inshallah. I have this phone. I say to Abdullah, right? Who's looking for some money. He comes to me, look, I need £10,000. You know, miskin. The girl's asking me for 8,000 and I need 2,000. Like the girl's asking for 8,000, I ain't gonna help you. Right? I need 10,000. I said, no problem, I'll give it to you. I'll tell you this now for £10,000. Yeah, I'll give it to you. Right? Which? Sorry.
By the way, isn't that way around? Isn't Abdullah going to give you the phone?
Yes, I will buy you a phone for what? Bedtime. He has a phone. I'll buy it for 10,000. I take the phone, right? Huh? I take the phone of him. I'll give him 10,000, which I'm going to buy back from him later. After 1 year, how much? 12,000. 20%. Literally slaughtered him. And he thinking that, alhamdulillah, man, they're falling into riba. Huh? Which is, phone. I bought it. Right? Can you see it's a smoke screen? Did everyone get that now? Does this really hold significance in this deal, brothers and sisters? And sometimes it's something so much more trivial. It's like some ta'ban thing that he sells him, right? Some car, which they are using as a loophole later on to get more back on the money that he lent.
What if it's an item that actually goes up in value? Say you bought expensive watch at Rolex and it went up in value by the next year, so when it comes back to buy it, they didn't agree on the price, but now it's gone up. So
The thing is, the fact that they are agreeing on him buying it back later on, this is what makes it problematic. You are now selling two items, or you're incorporating two sales in one. And the Messenger of Allah specifically prohibited this. Right? And sometimes you do this with what? Football players. Is that exactly what they do? I remember a couple of years ago, David Lewis, I think that was his name, he's playing for Chelsea. Huh? How many times have you went back and forth? Yeah. But if you're stipulating in the contract now, right? Two transactions in one. Messenger of Allah said, or he prohibited al-bay'an fi bay'ah. Or al-bay'an fi bay'ah. البيعان في آخر السنة. نهى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن بيعتين في بيعة. Two transactions in one. If I say to Abdulaziz, you want this power bank, right? No problem. I'll sell you this power bank, right? With the condition that you sell me your car. Your juice? Not my juice. We have to separate the two transactions from one another. You get me? And then it says, وَشَرُّهَا بَيْعُ الْغَنِيِّ دِينَهُ. The worst of everything that we've covered now is one selling his religion, or someone stupid, he said, right? Someone who's dumb, right? Someone selling off his religion. And the Messenger talked about this, right? What did the Messenger say? Now, بَادِرُوا بِالْأَعْمَالِ فِتَنًا كَقِطْعِ اللَّيْلِ الْمُظْلِمِ. Hasten to doing good deeds. The fitan are like the dark patches of the night. يصبح الإنسان مؤمنا ويمسي كافرا ويمسي الإنسان مؤمنا ويصبح كافرا يبيع دينه بعرض من الدنيا. When he wakes up in the morning, he's a Muslim. By the night, he's a kafir. Or he may go to sleep, right, as a Muslim, and by the morning, he's a kafir. He ends up يبيع دينه بعرض من الدنيا. He ends up selling his religion for an offer from this world. Is it really worth it? It's not. You may think to yourself, okay, how can a transaction lead to one leaving the religion. Give me a scenario, brothers and sisters.
Someone to like someone's asking him to make a song. He makes it and it includes lyrics of shirk. And he gets paid.
Very, very good. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. A young brother, how old are you? 14, what's your name?
Yes.
Yunus. He used this as a very good example, right? Someone now, right, offering you a big chunk of money in order for you to make certain lyrics that shirk in it, or kufri statements, selling his religion like that. Any other example?
Would selling idols that would be worshipped by?
You could say that. You could say that as well. But the example that I normally tell brothers is, and you may not necessarily see it from the apparent, but deep, when you give it from deep thought, you will see it. Right? When you start engaging in riba, is that a major sin, minor sin, what is it?
Major sin.
Major sin, the worst of the major sins. Right? Imam Malik said, إني تصفحت كتاب الله وسنة نبيه ولم أرى شيئا أشهر من الربا. I looked through the book of Allah and His Sunnah, salawatu rabbi wa salamu alayhi, and I didn't find a sin that is greater than what riba. This is of course excluding shirk and kufr, they're the worst. Right? Out of the major sins, he says, what's riba? He goes with me. So when it comes to this, one sin to another, to another, to another, Ibn Taymiyyah, he talks about how, right, a sin can spark into something so much more greater. One thing leads to another, and another, and then it ends up becoming what? A huge fire which will eventually lead him to disbelief. Right? Especially when you get big, in the finance world. A lot of those who have these dealings, you think they're practicing people. Right? You become a product of the environment. And eventually ends up leaving like that as well. Right? Or now, you see people that are selling their religion. Some of these labor members that might even be Muslim. They will, right, have strong alliances with kufr, right, disbelief, and the disbelievers, just so they can save their position within that party. Hizbiyun. Right? If you want to know what Hizbiyya is, a term that we hear thrown around all the time, partisanship, look at how these parties, they operate. Right? Whatever the party requires, I fall in line. My association and this association, my love and my hate, is not for Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is for that party. Right? If they even commit kufr, you have to fall in line with it. He will be ready to vote for whatever they are. Then he said to my brothers and my sisters, we're going to take this chapter and the chapter after that, and then we will be done, inshallah ta'ala. This is a very, very handy chapter. It's called a salam. It's called a salam. Salam transaction. If you want to translate that, literally in English, it means advanced paid transactions or sales. Advanced paid transactions or sales.
Salam.
Salam. It's called salam. Advanced paid transactions or sales. It says عقد على موثوق في دين أجل منضبط بثمن قد عجل لا سلم مع ضبطك الصفات وذكر قدر أجل فئات. Right? The purchase of a commodity, right? The purchase of a commodity, right? The delivery is deferred in exchange for an immediate payment. I'll say that again. Right? The purchase of a commodity where the delivery is deferred. Right? Where the delivery of that item is going to be deferred. The purchase of an item, right? Where the delivery of the item is going to be what? Deferred. In exchange for an immediate payment. Right? In exchange for an immediate payment. Listen up to me, brothers. Right? If you've written that down, got another 10 seconds, write it down. right? The purchase of a commodity or a purchase of an item or something where the delivery of that item is not going to be handed over to you now. It's going to be handed over at a later date. In exchange, right? In exchange for an immediate payment. In exchange for an immediate payment. Put this to the side for a moment. Someone explained to me very, very quickly selling debt for debt. We took this last week and it will come in handy right now.
Haram.
Haram. What's the...
You have to give one of the items.
Okay, so you have two individuals. This guy has an iPhone. He has to hand over the money in order to be able to purchase this iPhone. They meet up at the masjid in order to make this exchange. Both of them say, oh, we forgot the item. Can they now close this deal? Why? Nothing has been handed over. If one of them handed over, right? If one of them had handed it over, we would be able to go ahead with it, and the other would be indebted to the other. Are you brothers with me? If both of them don't hand it over, and both of them say, okay, it's yours, and I'll hand the money over to you later, right? This would be an invalid transaction because it was prohibited. He prohibited that. Are you brothers with me? What's the difference here? Ahsant. You are going to hand over an item which has been deferred, right, for a later date, right? In exchange for an immediate payment right now. This kind of transaction, my brothers and my sisters, comes in handy when one is in need of a cash injection. He's in need of a cash injection. Are you brothers and sisters with me? He is in need of a cash injection. I'll give you guys an example. Have you guys ever heard of how farms work? You need to water it, you need somewhat of cash now in order to
Keep it running.
what's the word that normally is? I'm not a farmer. No, it's called agricultural produce. But in order for you to kind of like get it up to a level where it's barren land now. But you have to put some money in order for it to start working, right? But that requires money. That requires money. Let's say it's a date farm. In order to get it now to start producing, you need to inject some cash into it, right? You have to water it, you have to use some whatever in order for it to start producing tomorrow. That's exactly what happens at times in Saudi Arabia or in the Arab world, right? The guy needs a cash injection, you pay him and he needs the dates at a later date because he is a businessman in selling dates. So what did he benefiting now from giving an immediate, right, cash payment? He's what? He's getting it now for cheaper as opposed to if he was to pay for it later. Are you guys with me? I know it's maybe one of the first times some of you guys are hearing it. I'm someone that's able to make things tick, but I need the money. I own this huge farm, but it's barren at this moment in time. I want it to be able to reach a point where it can produce these dates or produce these fruits. But I need money. I need £10,000 now. Where am I going to get £10,000 from? Right? I need this cash injection. And this guy, he's a fruit seller in the markets. He gives me the £10,000 now. 1 year later, I will hand it over to him. He would have benefited. Why? Because he got it for a lot cheaper amount. I need the money now, right? Because it's only, right, I only require a little bit of it in order to get everything producing again. And I'll be able to sell an excess of that which this land produces to others. I'll be able to make a lot of money. Both of them are in a win-win situation. Are you brothers with me? It could also be applied when it comes to someone who manufactures phones. Let's just say you have somebody who manufactures these iPhones. But in order to be able to manufacture, they've got all the machines, the manufacturing machines and everything, right? That makes these iPhones. But again, you need a cash injection. He doesn't have that money. You hand over to him what? £100,000. You'll probably be able to make 20% of that. Later on, when you start selling, you're paying an amount that is far less to the wholesale price. Okay? I'll use me and Abdullahi as an example. Pay attention, my brothers and sisters, yeah? I'm the iPhone manufacturer. He's the cash cow. Right? The guy with all of the money. I don't have the money now to get this up and running. I've got the machines and everything, but I need the money to be able to get it up and running. He says to me, look, I'll give you £100,000 in exchange for, let's just say, how many iPhones? 10,000 iPhones. Right? He'll get it for cheaper. Will it work out cheaper? 10,000 divided by 100,000? That's 1,000. Yes. And normally this particular latest iPhone will be sold for how much? What? 1,500. I think I'm doing the math right. Right? It will work out paying what? At 1,000. Wholesale is being sold at £1,300. It's a win-win for him, right? It's a win-win for him. I'll give you 100,000 in exchange for how many iPhones? 10,000 iPhones. After 1 year, you need to hand it over. Right? Going back to the ta'rif that I mentioned earlier, which is what? In exchange for an immediate payment, and that item is going to be handed over, right? The exchange will be carried out in a year's time. So that's the effect. Did everybody get that? Get with me. This is actually, subhanAllah, very merciful type of transaction for people who need money. Instead of going out to take loans that they would have to pay interest on, Islam has provided this particular type of transaction in order to be able to get your transactions moved. Any questions with regards to this scenario that I mentioned so far before I mention again? Questions? Go on.
Is it more like investing? When you say cash injection, you get money, it's like more like investing.
But the thing is, if he, for whatever reason, it doesn't work out for him, هذا موصوف بالذمة they said. This is a guarantee. Right? This is a guarantee. Okay? By the seller until the buyer collects it upon receipt. He has to collect it. If you end up, for whatever reason, you know, watering this farm or your manufacturing machine breaks down, is that my fault? No. You still have to what? Hand over those items to me later on. This is why one of the conditions is we can't sell them for every type of item. There has to be a type of item that, let's just say, his way of producing or manufacturing these items didn't work out for him. He'll be able to go to somewhere else and acquire those items. Right? Are you guys with me? So it's not any other type of item. It's not any other type of item. Let me ask you a question. You have those white cups, no? White plastic cups that you buy for how much? £2-3? You get like 40 of them. Huh? Let's just say if one manufacturing company breaks down and they stop producing it, right? And I made a deal like this, would it be difficult for me to be able to acquire these plastic cups from anywhere else? It wouldn't be difficult. I can go and find it somewhere else. This is why I'm going to go into the conditions now. Right? The first condition is when transacting in this particular manner is the product must be described in detail by mentioning its name, type, color, country of manufacture, because that's impactful in this transaction, isn't it? If I told you something from China, and you wanted something from California, like these iPhones. Huh? I'm selling you a Chinese product, right? And any other distinguishing characteristics that will affect the price. This is key here. And any other distinguishing characteristics that will affect the price. It must all be stated, right, at the time when drawing up that contract. And this is, of course, going to prevent dispute between the buyer and the seller. Sahih? Number two, it cannot be a unique item. Right? This item needs to be a type of product or an item that is available on the market. Why do we mention unique item here? Why is it very, very important?
You might not find it similar.
Imagine now, this guy pays me an advance payment, right? We mentioned earlier, advance payment transaction of sales, right? This is what's selling this. He has now what? Given me an immediate payment, and the exchange is going to defer the item that I will be handing over to him at a later date. Agreed? What if now this individual has been waiting for a whole year and then he finds out it's a unique item, right? Which is very, very hard. Huh? To hand over. We're going to have a problem. This guy's been waiting for a whole year, you took his money. Right? And now, after waiting for a whole year, you're not handing over anything to him. Right? And then you say to him, okay, look, man, I've tried to look everywhere, I can't find it. Oh, we have a problem here. And this guy has gone and spent all of that money. But if it was like those plastic cups, as they do today, right? Those plastic cups is difficult to find. Very easy to find. So it can't be like a unique item in the market. No, it has to be an item that is easy to find just in case you are able to, right, acquire from whatever means that you will be using. Or from whatever avenues that you.
Quick question. Is it something in the market or is it something that is relatively easy to manufacture?
Yeah, easy to manufacture. But we're saying market because it would normally be easily accessible within the market. It's manufactured.
Okay.
Yeah?
As in you're manufacturing with, let's say, materials and equipment that's available now, for example, not up another planet.
Yeah, and it's not like let's say, if you're this particular manufacturing company, right, is not able to go ahead with it, would you be able to find an alternative right away?
I
Right?
can take the design somewhere else and print it out.
Yes, hello.
Okay.
That's exactly what it is. But you might not necessarily be able to get it for the same amount. The most important thing is that at the time of handing over that item, he'd be able to find it wherever it might be, or from wherever it might be. All day. Must have the ability to access and deliver that unspecified item that you are selling, right? By description in a timely fashion. That's why the Messenger Sallallahu in the Hadith says, "Ila ajrin ma'lum." The time needs to be specified of when it is. The Messenger Sallallahu talked about fi shay ma'lum. The thing that you are handing over needs to be what? Known. Number 4. The price must be paid in advance in full, and no part of it should be delayed. The price must be paid in advance in full, and no part of it should be delayed. Otherwise, what happens? If you delay the payment from the get-go, it becomes what? Day for day. It becomes debt for debt. Number 5, the date and time of delivery should be stipulated. You can't just leave it open, wallahi, within 2 years I'll pay you back, or 3 years. No, you need to give them the time of when it should be handed over. Right? And again, this is one of the things that will prevent disputations from materializing later on. Because Bay'at Salam comes in extremely handy also when it comes to drop shipping. Right? When it comes to drop shipping, it can come in handy in that kind of situation. Right? Where you specify the item, make it very, very clear. It's one of those items that is easily found within the market. Like, everybody please quickly stand up and sit back down. We're going to go through riba and we're done, inshallah. Go. طيب now we move on to الربا. الربا يرث حرم ربا البيوع يا خليلي في النقد والموزون والمكيل فما بجنسه يباع فاشترط تقابضا كذا تماثل ضبط. طيب الربا my brothers my sisters we can maybe what split into two. الربا can be split into two. ربا الديون and ربا البيوع. Riba that runs in debt and the riba that runs in transactions. Right? So you borrowed money and it increases with the increase of time. This is what the first type would be. You lend that individual for money and it increases, right, with the increase of time. It increases with the increase of time. That's maybe one time. What if it doesn't increase by the increase of time? They give you a fixed amount that you need to pay back. Still riba. But some of these Islamic banks do. They say to you what? Fixed rate that you need to pay back later. It's not like Barclays, right? But it increases with the increase of time. They say to you, no matter how long it takes you, just fixed rate. I say what? 10%, 20%, 30% fixed rate. If we've given you 100,000, you'll only have to pay back what? 140,000. We're not going to ask anymore. It's not going to go up, right? It's not going to increase with the increase of time. Okay? This is also problematic in haram and riba. Why? The principle is كل قرض جر منفعة كل قرض هو riba. Every loan that is paid back with more here. Does it mean only money? Could be anything that carries value. I've given you guys an example before. If somebody in our brothers must gives you all a loan, and they said, yeah, just make sure when you pay back, some need new trainers. Buy me a pair of trainers and some of it. Is that allowed? But it's not money though. It doesn't have to be money. Anything that carries value, that's manfa'a. كل قرض جر منفعة. Something that has what? Value. And this is what they used to do back in the day. Riba al-Jahiliyyah. Right? The riba al-Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib. The time of paying back the loan is today, for example. He will extend the appointed date or the deadline of paying it back if you agree now to pay back more. He says to you, look, أتقضي أم تربي? Are you going to pay it back now? Or should we do something called riba? No worries, take it, pay it back more. Riba al-Jahiliyyah. Right? Riba al-Jahiliyyah. The riba of pre-Islam. And they went to state of ignorance. Everybody get that? I think this is what disturbs most people. A lot of people don't really go into the riba al-Buyur, but I'm going to show you guys how anti-important it is. Right? That which you will normally find it back. It's like qina and this kind of riba al-duyun, the riba that runs in debt, وهكذا. طيب. Now we come on to riba al-buyur. This is where there is such deep discussion. Riba al-buyur. Let's quickly turn over this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ when he said, this is the key hadith when it comes to a riba in transactions. It's literally this hadith, right? هو حديث الباب شو نقول ذات. المسلم صلى الله عليه وسلم said, الذهب بالذهب والفضة بالفضة والبر بالبر والشعير بالشعير والتمر بالتمر والملح بالملح مثلا بمثل سواء بسواء. Right? سواء بسواء يدا بيد أو سواء يدا بيد، فإذا اختلفت هذه الأصناف فبيعوا كيف شئتم إذا كان إيش؟ يدا بيد. هذا مثلا صلى الله عليه وسلم mentioned how many commodities? 6 commodities. I hope you guys done your homework. I told you guys look into the reasonings and the effective causes as to why these 6 have been made haram. What is the common feature, or in mathematical terms, common denominator when you do fractions? Right? You divided this by this number because there is a common denominator. So you have what? 5 at the top and then 25. In order to simplify this, say, right? This is a term that I use. It's been a long time since I done mathematical equations. It says you simplify it. You have 5 at the top and then 25 at the bottom. How can you simplify it? What's the common denominator here? طيب, so what happens after? You have what? 5 at the top and then 25. You guys do maths. Huh? You divide it by? Ahsant. You divide it by 5. So you have 5, 25. What can you simplify it to? And then what does it become? 1/5. Come on, lads. Huh? Becomes 1/5. You have the common denominator, which is 5. Here the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم is key hadith. I'll say it again. الذهب بالذهب والفضة بالفضة والبر بالبر والشعير بالشعير والتمر بالتمر والملح بالملح مثلا بمثل سواء بسواء يدا بيد فإذا اختلفت هذه الأصناف فبيعوا كيف شئتم إذا كان يد بيد. The 6 commodities that were mentioned, I want you guys to all write it down. It's going to help you guys, inshallah, as we're going through this. Right? The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he told us that this kind of transaction is forbidden. What is this transaction? He forbade the selling of gold for gold, silver for silver, barley for barley. I'll say that again. Gold for gold, silver for silver, barley for barley, wheat for wheat, dates for dates, right? And then salt for salt. Right? Did you get those 6? Gold for gold, silver for silver, barley for barley, wheat for wheat, dates for dates, and salt for salt. Right? When selling a type of dates now for another type of dates, if you want to make the exchange, how does it need to be? It has to be same in amount, and it also has to be what? Hand by hand. Right? You have to hand it over right away. You have to hand it over right away. Right? When you guys go to Saudi Arabia, are all dates the same? Even if you go to the local grocery store, do they all have the exact same type of dates? They don't. They've got different types of dates, right? You got sukkari, the sugary ones, you got the ajwa ones, and so on and so forth. You guys know the ajwa ones, right? The Messenger spoke about specifically the black ones, right? That protects you from sihr and so on and so forth. And then you have the sugary ones. You have the sugary ones. Let's just say I am somebody who is a dates businessman, and all I produce is ajwa dates. However, I want to diversify my business. I want to start all of a sudden now selling more than just ajwa. So my mate across the road, he sells sukkari ones, right? And I don't have any cash anymore. I want to diversify my business. Listen, ta'al, come here, Abdulaziz. You got the sukkari, right? Because ajwa, you know the hadith, it's mentioned hadith for ajwa. People are willing to pay more for it. I'll give you, let's just say 10 kilos, you give me 20. Huh? You give me 20 because I can't give you some of that. You mentioned the hadith, even use the deen, huh? Use the hadith. Use the hadith now to try and get more out of it. Right? Give me sukkari dates, 20 kilos, I'll give you 10. Ma ra'aykum? Is that allowed? You guys get the idea now? Here we are being told these 6 commodities. If you want to make an exchange, It has to be what? Equal in amount and also what? Hand in hand. Meaning you have to hand it over straight away. He can't say to him, listen, look, I'll give you 20 kilos and then 1 year later, inshallah ta'ala, I'll hand over the sukari days. I'll give you the ajal days right now, you take it. And then he hands it over to him what? 1 year later. Is that allowed? Is it now hand in hand? No, it's not. Enter my ayah. You guys good so far? Then you also have what? Let's just quickly take the dhahab one as an example. Right? And dhahab with dhahab. Sometimes before you go to Umrah, she said, you take this gold, go to these gold shops that you find in front of the haram, and get me a taqam, a nice one that you find. Right? So she has some old ones. And she wants to exchange it now for better ones, and she'll put cash on top. Yajuz? If the amount is different, my brothers and my sisters, right, and you want that which another has, you would have to sell what you have first and then use the money now to go and buy it. Right? If you now want to make an exchange, you have that your mother now is asking you, or your wife is asking you to exchange for the latest type of dhahab that they have. Are you brothers with me? Right? It would have to be equal in amount. You want that one and he wants this one, it has to be what? 1 kilo each. He can't be giving you more in exchange for that which is less. You guys with me? Fine. What if now, my brothers and my sisters, you have silver? I own a lot of silver. Abdullah has a lot of gold. I want gold. He said to me, look, I'll give you a kilo of gold, but you have to give me 2 kilos of silver. I will make the exchange. Today people collect gold coins, right? One of my cousins got these gold coins. He invests in these gold coins and keeps it. Eventually it will what? Increase in its value. So this is what people have to do. So just keep this scenario in here. I have a bunch of silver coins. Abdullah has a lot of gold coins. I want gold coins because I predict that, gold is going to be this and that and whatever. He said, I'll give you 1 kilo of gold coins, you give me 2 kilos. Did you?
No, sure.
Huh?
I know, sure.
Son, with the condition that you hand it over straight away. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if these six commodities, right? You want to make an exchange and they are different from one another. Like for example, silver for gold. It is possible, it is allowed with the condition that you hand it over on the spot. You hand it over on the spot. That's what the Messenger said at the end. فإذا اختلفت هذه الأصناف فبيعوا كيف شئتم إذا كان يدا بيد. If the commodities are different, you can sell however much you want. It doesn't have to be equal in amount, providing that you do it on the spot. Everybody get that? Now, my brothers and my sisters, I want you guys to look at gold and silver. What's the reason as to why it has been prohibited? Right? First and foremost, the 4 great imams of fiqh, they all agree that the reasonings as to why they have been prohibited can also be applied somewhere else if the reasoning is found. Pay attention now, my brothers and sisters. I keep saying this, we can't be rigid. We look at why something has been made haram. What is the effective cause, the reasoning as to why dhahab, gold and silver and the rest of these commodities have been prohibited? Is there a common denominator? You guys like math, I'm asking you guys. Is there a common denominator when you look at all of these 6 points or 6 commodities?
What's those values used to buy? Trade.
That's so shabby.
Huh?
Huh? What can you see when you look at that? Okay, it's heavy. Doing it as cute. Silver. Then you have what thing? What do they all have in common?
Don't even be weighed.
Huh?
Won't be weighed.
That's the answer I'm looking for. I'm going to come on to you. Monetary value. Hold on to that for a moment. As Hanbalites, we looked at all of these 6, right? Commodity, and we said the common denominator, or the common feature, or the commonality in all of these 6 is that Makil, Mawzun. It can either be weighed or measured. This is the official position within Alhamdulillah. However, today, my brothers and my sisters, I'm going to show you guys how unfanatic I am. We're going to move away from that. So they say, what's the common denominator here, guys? Something you can weigh. All of these things, or something that can be measured. If you find this effective cause, this common denominator, this common feature, this commonality, in another, right? In another item or in another type of thing, then it will also apply there. Who can give me now an example of it that is other than these 6? That this common feature or this common denominator or this effective cause can also be found in. Huh? Ahsant. عليك نور. Jazakallah khair. Exactly what I'm looking for. Meat. Meat is. Before you buy it, what do you ask him to do? To give you a kilo of? Right? Likewise, we are not rigid. We're not just, okay, the message is prohibited this text, khalas. Riba doesn't apply anywhere else. Hanabali would also say that when it comes to the wheat, why? Because the effective cause that you find in these 6, the common denominator, the common feature can also be found in where? Meat. Does that make sense? So when you now have 5 kilos of a type of meat, and then 5 kilos of a different type of meat, amongst them they differ, right? Does the meat have to be all from a certain type, a burly type of meat, or can it be from very, forget that for a moment, right? If I want to exchange, for example, 5 kilos of camel for 5 kilos of butter, cow, yes, right? 10 kilos of camel, exchanging that for 20 kilos of cow, is that allowed?
You go by that, no?
Huh?
You go by that, no? They're both meat. It's 2 different meats.
The way different.
Camel is more expensive than.
Yeah, but the thing is, if we, this is,
It's all good, it's meat.
we're talking about all meat altogether. But I know exactly what you guys are talking about. I don't want to go into that discussion. They discuss amongst themselves, camel meat is a specific type, right? It's a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a specific, give me the word, man. It's a specific kind, say, right? Specific kind. Write it down, please. Specific kind of sentence. It's a specific kind. Yani jins. And then you have bird meat, is a specific kind of meat. And then you have another type that's a specific kind of meat. If you're selling one specific kind of meat for another specific kind of meat, they say here is different, it's like what gold and silver. Others they say no, it all falls on the meat, khalas. It has to be equal in amount, right? If we go off with the other type, which is specific kind of meat, which is different to the other specific kind of meat, it just has to be exchanged on the spot and in, right? But here, what I really want you guys to understand is, would you agree, if we look at those 6 that were specifically mentioned in the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the effective cause was what? Weighed and measured. This also applies here. Agreed? It also applies in this. So why should this be riba, but not riba elsewhere? Yes. Are you guys with me? This position of the Hanabila today can be very problematic. Right? £50 note, can that be weighed? Huh? Today, the money that we have, my brothers and my sisters, right, which takes the place of gold and silver. It takes the place of gold and silver. If we say that the riba only runs in that which can be weighed or measured, right? Huh? All of this money that I have, listen, give me one, I'll give you this, hakada. You guys see number of why would be a problem? Because the money that is used today, the paper, it cannot be weighed. Even though it is the equivalent of gold and silver today. Huh? You know, like this is the problem here now. If we go up with what the Hanabil and the Hanafi say, they use what? The effective cause of anything that carries value which is weighed or measured. Huh? These are the effective causes. You find that elsewhere, it applies. Now let's come on to Shafi'i position. By the way, which is also one of the positions in the Hanbali madhab. So we're still with the greats in this matter. You guys should be cheering, man. Right? Are you guys with me? What do the Shafi'i say when it comes to gold and silver? They say thamaniyah. It's not. The effective cause isn't that which you can weigh and measure. No, that's you guys. You Hanbalites and you Hanafites. That's your reasoning. They looked at it and they analyzed and observed. They said, no, it can't be. It has to be what? That which carries monetary value. What's your name? Ibrahim, where did you get that term monetary value from? Huh? Did you go to fiqh classes elsewhere? MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Al-thamaniyah, that which carries monetary value. Right? So, does it carry monetary value? Huh? Also, dates, does it have monetary value? Silver and gold, does it have monetary value? Even these papers that we use today, huh? I think that really doesn't carry value, but you know, the £50 note, does it carry monetary value? No. So this is more applicable in today's, right, modern day era. Otherwise, if we go off with what the Hanabila say, we're going to have a big problem. People are going to be making exchanges of paper money, and because you can't weigh it, you can't measure it, you'd be allowed to do whatever you have to, which is getting more for less, which in essence is riba. Are you brothers with me? So we go off with what the Shafi'i say, that the effective cause in all of the six is monetary value, but also when it comes to the remaining four, put gold and silver to the side now. Date, wheat, barley, and salt. It has to be what? Mat'oom. That which is consumable. Gold and silver is consumable. No. So they said the effective cause in all six is what? Monetary value plus when it comes to those four commodities, right? Such as wheat, barley, salt, and date is what? Consumable. Weighed, measured, right? Plus weight or measured plus consumable. Mat'uman. Are you brothers and sisters with me? So the position that we're taking right now is the Shafi'i position, the Maliki position, also one of the positions within the Hanbali madhab, even though the official position is what I mentioned earlier. I had to go into that. Have you guys understood it? Wallahi, brothers, as I was growing up and studying, I really struggled to get my head around this. Right? So if you guys are understanding it the first time round, may Allah Azza wa Jal increase your knowledge and more. And if you understood it, even if it is not the first time, may Allah Azza wa Jal increase and give you more. Has everybody got it? Mathematics, common denominator, all of these six. What is the common feature of the why? Why is Allah making this prohibited? They looked at it. Hanabila said because all of these six commodities that which they have in common is it can be weighed or measured. Shafi'i, Maliki, and also one of the positions in the Hanbali madhab, they came along and said no. Is that which carries monetary value. So then anything that carries monetary value, right, the same would apply. You guys with me? And it's not just specific to these 6 commodities items that we mentioned. What does the riba al-fadl mean? And the riba al-nasiya? We've already spoken of, but these are just now fancy terms in fact that you need to be aware of, right? Riba al-fadl is an exchange of unequal quantities or qualities of a given commodity. We've already spoken about it. An exchange of unequal quantities. We mentioned that if you're going to make an exchange, from the 6 that were mentioned, it has to be what? Equal. So, that is that. Gold for gold. Making that exchange, you have like some Asian type of gold. He has African type of gold. They want to now make an exchange. It has to be what? Equal. So, it has to be equal to one another. 1 kilo for another kilo. Right? If it's not going to be equal, what's the alternative? You have to sell whatever you have, get the money, and then use that to buy it. Okay, let me ask you a question. Ask you a question. What if you're buying gold online today? What if you're buying gold online today? Right? Is it being handed over right away? You've made the payment and they are going to bring it after 1 week. Remember what we mentioned? It has to be handed over there and then on the spot. Yeah, then be it. Right? There can't be what? An-nasiya. An-nasiya means to delay the exchange of the given commodities. We mentioned it has to be what? Equal in amount. And also what? It has to be exchanged there and then on the spot. So now you're going online, you find this, you know, it's your Eid coming up, and anniversary, we don't celebrate anniversaries. Your Eid coming up, and then you want to buy some gold for your wife, you want to surprise her. That's a good husband, guys. I know the simply one we spoke about earlier. Eid is nice. You see it online, and then you pay for it, but they're not going to hand it over right away. They will what? Bring it to you after a week. ما حكم هذا؟
But isn't that considered a single transaction, right? Where once you make the payment, the bank clears it, and then they post it to you, and then the items arrive at the agreed time.
But I'm making that. Remember what we said with regard to gold. You go to the guy in the shop, you hand it over, and he gives you the item.
Yeah.
But now you're paying for it, it comes 4 or 5 days later.
By using gold?
Based on what we studied, this would not be permissible. And the solution to this is the guy who's now delivering it to you, he comes with a card machine. Right? He hands it over to you and then you pay. Beep. And in that case, we have fulfilled, right, the requirements of what is being mentioned here.
Sometimes I'm like order online. The transaction doesn't actually go through until you receive the gold.
Until you receive it.
Yeah.
Okay, Jay. Right? If now you've received it and then upon it being received, they give out a signal, right? Khalas, we're handing it over right now, and then the payment comes through, that's mushkila.
That's how we usually like to see the pending on like the bank statement.
Mhm.
But once you actually receive it, then it goes through.
Jay, no problem. Right? That's outside of the obvious scenario. If it's not, then it would fall under this. If, and this is what some of them do, they give out a signal, they, right, send the, that now it's about to be handed over, right, and then the exchange is made, and then
So that applies to benefit to me. How about ordering food online? That,
But the thing is,
the same case, you pay and then you wait for you to get paid.
but it's not the way, it's not the, it's cooked food, right? It's not that which is being, so we mentioned, right? الموزون مع الطعم. What did we mention earlier? Shafi'is, what they basically say is, and this is the position of a lot of them, that when it comes to the other four commodities, it has to be
Edible.
Huh?
Edible.
edible, and what else? It has to have monetary value, and likewise, it has to be either what? Weight or measured. It has to be one of the two that is added onto it. So if you're ordering food now, this is not it's the type that is weight, is it? You're asking for takeaway to be delivered. Do you get the difference? Yeah. But if I was ordering huge amounts of wheat, and then I paid for it, and it's going to get delivered in 2 weeks' time, and then في إشكال, right? طيب, this is why when he says فما بجنسه يباع فاشترط تقابضا كذا تماثل انضبط. We talked about what? That there can't be a delay when exchanging the commodities, and you also have to be what? It has to be equal in amount. ربا الفضل ربا النساء. So this is basically what he talks about. And then it speaks about refundable options of خيار. أثبت خيار العيب غض مجلسي وشرط والخلفين والمدلس. Different types of refundable options. Maybe inshallah ta'ala that's something we'll cover another time. But let me quickly mention inshallah ta'ala الشروط في البيع والشرط في البيع أتى من العاقدين يقسم للصحيح ثم الفاسد ومفسد والأصل فيها المقتضى وفاسد المخالف للمقتضى والمفسد اشتراط عقد آخر وجمع شرطين كأوث الوكس. Condition, my brothers and sisters, are a few types. شروط البيع والشروط في البيع. What's the difference between the two? Conditions that have been added onto the transaction and conditions that come with the transaction, right? What's the difference between the two? One of them is from human beings. He can add as many conditions as he wants as long as it doesn't go against the Sharia, right? And there are conditions that the Shari, that the legislator has put down, and you have to abide and adhere to it no matter what. With regards to the conditions of the human being, he can choose to, right, remove it. He can choose to agree with it, right? If one fails to meet one of the conditions that was set down by the legislator, that bay' or that transaction is invalid. Right? Are you guys with me? However, if one does not meet the conditions of the one who has stipulated it, the human being, that transaction, right? That transaction, what happens to it? He can choose now to revoke it. Does that make sense? The buyer can choose to revoke it if the seller can choose to revoke it if the buyer doesn't meet the condition. Right? So they basically refer to as mufsid and also fasid. نعم والمفسد اشتراط عقد آخر وجمع شرطين كأوث الوكسين. It will be considered mufsid, يعني this transaction is completely invalid or invalid if this individual now applies more than one condition in this transaction. We are allowed to only add one condition according to the Hanabila. If I ask you now to buy this from me and then you agree, and I put one condition on you that I'm going to wash my clothes inside of your wash machine. This is the condition. It's not another transaction. You guys with me? They allow only one condition in the transactions. would love to elaborate on this in a lot more detail, ولكن we're done for time. I'm going to sell my phone to Abdullah. He says, no worries, I'll buy it from you for £1,000, right? And he stipulates, or I stipulate, should I say, okay, if I sell this to you now for £500, I get to use your wash machine for a week. يجوز? يجوز if it's one condition. If you also said I get to use your car for a week as well, لا, this is more than one condition. Right? Other sister, جزاكم الله خيرا وأحسن الله إليكم. It's been 4 weeks we've gone through these rulings pertaining to buying and selling. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it from us, and to make it from those that when they hear the reminder, when they hear the rulings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they apply it in their lives. It doesn't just go through one ear and come out the other. Right? Honestly, I really benefited immensely from you guys. Jazakumullah khair, your questions, your engagement, your musharakat. So jazakumullahu kulla khair. Right? The teacher, in fact, benefits more than the people that are attending, generally speaking, because of him articulating the information and relaying it back. It tends to stick with him so much more. So I want to say jazakumullah khair to you guys. Wa ahsan Allah ilaykum wa barakallahu feekum. And as I always do at the end of each class, I take a moment out and thank my teachers. This is exactly what Imam Sa'di rahmatullahi alayhi done in his qawaid al-fiqh when he said, وهذه قواعد نظمتها إن كنت بأهل العلم قد حصلتها جزاء من مولى عظيم الأجر والعفو مع غفرانه والبر. Took some time out to make dua and to seek forgiveness for those who helped him put these lines of poetry together, which consist of legal maxims. And this is one of the best of etiquettes to do so, even if that individual teaches you one single harf, right? That you show a level of thanks. Those who benefited me immensely were the likes of Sheikh Amr, who is the author of this, Sheikh Islam al-Shuayr, Sheikh Khalid al-Mushayqi, Sheikh Muhammad Mukhtar al-Shaqiti, and other than them. Whatever I relate back to you, I directly took it from those wonderful mashayikh. And of course, that goes without saying, all of the other mutaqaddimeen, the classical scholars that we benefit from immensely from their works. So may Allah Azza wa Jalla reward them. Both the author said, إذا أفادك إنسان بفائدة من العلوم فلا يزد شكره أبدا. One relays a benefit to you, then always be thankful. فقل فلان جزاه الله صالحة أفادنيها وألقي الكبر والحسد. Say so and so, may Allah reward you with good. He benefited me and get rid of your arrogance, he says. And the fact that sometimes it could be a classmate, sometimes it could be a student, sometimes it could be a teacher, right? Sometimes it could be someone who taught you alif ba ta, right? And now you've become so much more knowledgeable than him. Does that mean you're going to start looking down at him no matter how much knowledge you acquire? The fact that he started before you is something that you should never forget, right? Even the teachers that taught you alif ba ta, Allah, we should go up to them every now and again and remind them that you are the reason why you taught me X, Y, and Z. And this helped me. Sometimes you forget, wallahi, those who help put down the foundation. Those who help put down the foundation of the basics that they taught us once upon a time. Right? May Allah protect us from those that were mentioned in those lines of poetry when he said, وعلمه الرماية كل يوم فلما اشتد ساعده رماني وكم علمته نظم القوافي فلما قال قافية الهجاء. Every day I teach him how to archery. The first day when he was able to shoot properly, the first person that he shot at was none other than his teacher. Right. Ah, Sheikh, look. He said, every day I teach him how to put lines of poetry together. The first day when he was able to put a couplet together, the first person that he dissed was none other than his teacher. You know, they have diss tracks today. Huh? They have diss tracks, huh? Or they aim it at one another. Huh? Before they had this poetry. But they would diss each other through poetry lines that they would put together. SubhanAllah, the first couple that he was able to put together after the teaching, because ilm al-urud is not easy. Huh? I've only ever made or put together one. You guys remember which one it is? On the forward we said, لابد للطالب من كناش يكتب فيه راكبا أو ماشي. It's a must for a talib that he carries himself, or carries with him kunash. What does kunash mean? Scrap paper. He writes when he rides and he writes when he walks. Because I wanted to make it a little bit more relevant. Even though I don't think it's موزون يعني correct wasn't that. I changed it up a little bit. لابد للطالب instead of saying kunash, لابد للطالب من iPad. Fresh way of saying iPad. It's a must that the talib carries an iPad. يكتب فيه على كل حال يا جماعة. I just wanted to mention that. And I always do every single time when I finish a class, I mention it at the end. جزاكم الله خيرا وبارك الله فيكم. Wallah, it was an absolute pleasure. I personally enjoyed it. I do apologize for not being able to finish it. I completely underestimated how long it would normally take us. Maybe one day, inshallah, maybe next year, I'll sit for 2 days, 4 hours each, maybe in a different locality, go through all of it one after the other, and the recording, inshallah ta'ala, for people to benefit from. Something that covers all the different chapters of and mu'amalat, transactions. But even then, alhamdulillah, we covered a very, very, very good amount. And I think we can be proud of ourselves that we understood we went through at least 4 weeks. In a very short period of time as well. And if only, I think it comes up to maximum 5 hours of studies that we've done. And because sometimes in the first time that we're going through it, it can be a little bit complicated to understand. Right? So don't feel disheartened. Wallahi, some of these things I would take ages. So much time out. How can I articulate it in the English language? Right? How can I articulate it in the English language? Like just translating a seller, advanced payment transactions or sales. You know how long that took me to just maybe be able to put that into English? It's one thing, by the way, understanding it, I'm going to be able to articulate it. And then to explain in English is not always easy. Right? Inshallah, if you guys understood it, it's a huge positive, inshallah. Yeah? And I'll see you guys next year. I'm leaving in a couple of days, inshallah.